Hello, everybody. Today we're going to take a look at the last battleground state for the 2024 election. And the narrowest margin in the previous election was in Georgia. So again, there's two maps here. The left side are the changes between 2012 and 2016. And there's a lot of red on this map. However, if you look at Georgia, you're also going to notice a lot of blue. And if you look on the right map, those are the changes between 2016 and 2020. There, almost the entire map is blue. And especially in Georgia, you're seeing a lot of blue lines in action going up or slightly to the left. You could actually take a closer look at these shifts if you go down just a little bit. When you get up close, it's clear this state is not going toward the Republicans. And all those shifts were enough for it to flip and go to Biden last time. So this time it's completely up for grabs. So let's go through some of the history of the Peach State. And we'll start by going back 3 elections to 2012. Back then, Mitt Romney won the state by almost 8 points. He got over 53%. Barack Obama on his second run got 45.5%. So not a landslide back in 12, but also not super competitive either. So let's zoom in and take a closer look at this county map. So it's clear there's a ton of red counties on this map, and a lot of those are already dark red. But the counties of note to take a look at are going to be where the population centers are. That's going to be Fulton County, where Atlanta is. That's this county here. It has an unusual shape, but if you're looking for some votes, you're going to want to go to this county. And of course, this is a stronghold for the Democrats. Same thing next door in DeKalb County. But all this is enough to keep the state red. The counties in particular you're going to want to take a look at are the suburban counties. The left side is Cobb and the right side is Gwinnett County. Back then, those counties were voting Republican, but they're clearly a lot lighter red than some of these other counties. Now, I can't go over every county, but there are some other blue counties in this state, especially in the Southwest. A lot of those don't have a ton of population in them, but they do have a decent amount of black voters. One other county to take a look at here is all the way in the far east. That's Chatham County. That has Savannah. That's going to be another medium-sized city and county to follow the trends on. So with some of those counties in mind, let's see what happened 4 years later in 2016. Here, Donald Trump was able to win the state. He cracked 50%. Hillary Clinton was at 45%. Now, there's also some third-party vote here, highlighted by Gary Johnson at 3%. So overall, the margin narrowed. Trump was able to hold the state, but it's clear the trends are going away from the GOP. Now, let's look at some of these counties. We'll start in Fulton County. Hillary at about 68% there, Trump at 27%. DeKalb is an even bluer county. Hillary at about 79% there. This time, if we look at these suburban counties, Cobb County flipped. It went to Hillary. She got it by about 2 points with 48%. Trump was at 46%. Gary Johnson there pulled in over 4%. And the other county that flipped for Hillary, that's Gwinnett. She cleared 50% this time to Trump's 44.5%. And if we look at Chatham County, Hillary won that by almost 15 points. So that's a lot of vote going to Hillary Clinton. And it's pretty much purely due to the Atlanta suburbs. So how is Trump still able to win the state? Trump has massive margins in these counties. He easily runs up 40 or even 50-point margins. Now let's go ahead to the last election in 2020. This time the state flipped and Biden narrowly carried it 49.5 to Trump's 49.2. You also might notice the third-party vote is less this time. That was all less than half of what it was in 2016. So Trump did just over 1 point worse than he did the first time, but with less third-party vote, Biden did about 4 points better than Hillary. So if we go down here and look at some of these counties, we'll come back to these in just a minute, but let's sort by the total number of votes. You can see the 4 most populous counties, Biden won by double digits. The best county for Trump was Cherokee. He got that by a massive 39-point margin. The mid-sized counties are kind of back and forth, and Georgia does have a lot of counties. And if you scroll down and take a look at the less populated counties, again, Biden does do well in some of those rural counties with a large black population. But Trump runs it up significantly in some of these counties, even hitting over a 70-point margin at times. So let's go through some of these shifts, and for that we'll get on Ballotpedia. So this will show you the totals over the last 3 elections. And we'll start in Fulton County. That does have about 10% of the population. And you can see since the days of Mitt Romney, the support for the Democrat has gone up by almost 8 points, while the support for the Republican has dropped off. It's a similar trend next door in deep blue DeKalb County, but the suburban counties are the ones we want to take a look at. Look at Cobb County. Romney won that easily by double digits back in 12. But just 8 years later in 2020, the margins are almost completely the opposite. This time Biden won the county by about 13 points. What about Gwinnett County? It's kind of a similar story. Romney won it by almost 10, but last time Biden won it by a massive 18. In another suburban county, Henry, there's less people here, but it's a similar pattern. Romney won it, but then Biden won it by a huge 20-point margin. The most populous county for Trump is Cherokee. Here he's still winning it by a wide, nearly 40-point margin, but that is a lot lower than it was back in 12 when Romney won it by about 57. Let's take a look at Chatham County. Here the shifts are are less dramatic, but it's clear they're going away from the Republican and toward the Democrat. Now, a lot of counties in northern Georgia and southeast Georgia, they were already dark red in the days of Romney, but now instead of getting 60 or 70% of the vote, Trump is getting 70 or 80%. Even in this county here with less than 0.2% of the population, Trump actually hitting an astonishing 90% in Brantley County. Now, the lighter blue rural counties, if you look at them, some of them, but not all of them, do show a shift away from the Democrats and toward the Republicans. If those trends continue, that could be a way for the Republicans to be able to offset some of their suburban losses. So if you want another way to look at some of this vote, we could take a look at this map here. Here's the 2016 vote. And at first, you could hover over any county to get the results, but this time you could actually zoom all the way in and take a look at the results on a precinct level. So if we pull in on Chatham County and take a look at Savannah, like with most population centers, a lot of this vote is deep blue. Hillary getting over 90% in a lot of these precincts. But of course, once we get out of that area, we see light blue and then a lot of red. And we could also do the same thing for 2020. So for this map, let's pull in on Atlanta and the suburbs. Of course, there's no surprise here. Biden dominating, winning many of these places by an 85 to 90 point margin. But once you start heading into the surrounding suburbs, there's still a lot of blue vote here. It's just light blue this time. But if we click here, we can see the shifts between 16 and 20. This is going to be the key thing to take a look at. So in just a 4-year span, most of these precincts have shifted toward Biden and the Democrats by at least 5 points. A lot of them do hit 10 to 15, and that goes pretty far out into the suburbs. One mildly bright spot for the Republicans is some of these Atlanta precincts did shift a little bit toward the right. It's not going to be close to enough to balancing out all that dark blue, but it is something if you're looking for any kind of a silver lining for the GOP. So as with all the links in this video, they will be down below in the description if you want to take a look at this data yourself. Now, another way to look at these shifts are to take a look at these county arrows. The blue arrows shifted toward Biden, the red arrows shifted toward Trump, and the bigger the arrow, the bigger the shift. And of course, most of those big blue arrows are around the Atlanta area. Now, you could do this for every county, but let's look at Gwinnett. That's the one that Biden won by 18 points, but Mitt Romney had won it 8 years earlier. So both of them did gain raw votes. Biden over 75,000 and Trump under 20,000. But throughout all those votes, Biden went up 7.8% while Trump dropped off 4.6%. And with the third-party vote, that share went down 3.3%. And that was a significant drop-off of more than 60% for just the third-party vote. If you want another way to look at some of these shifts in the third-party vote, we can get back on Ballotpedia and look over here on the right side. There, the third-party vote statewide dropped off 3% between 16 and 20. And overall, Biden went up 4.1%, Trump dropped off 1.2%, and the state overall shifted 5.3% toward the Democrats. So that is a lot of shift in a short amount of time. Now, another thing that's going to be key is going to be the turnout. Of course, it does matter with the individual demographics, but this map here will show you the turnout overall in all the counties across the U.S. And it's up almost everywhere. But if you just go to Georgia, it is up significantly. Most of these counties are easily over 20%. Some of them do hit 30%. So maybe that's an anomaly because of COVID, but there's no way this state is going to be able to go red if those suburbs are going to keep lurching toward the left. Another thing that might be important is the educational breakdown. The Democrats do better with higher educated voters, and this will show you the county map for those that have attained a bachelor's degree or higher. Now, the national average is somewhere around the mid-30s, but the darker counties are going to be more educated, and Fulton County is at almost 56%. The suburban counties also range anywhere from the high 30s to the high 40s. Once you get outside of most of those counties, the educational attainment does drop off a cliff. Some of these counties, it does even get down into single digits. Trump could make some gains in some of these counties that have a lower educational or working class appeal. So if you want to look one more time at these Atlanta suburbs, here's that same area and the presidential results going back to 1984. The only thing to notice is how less red and more blue it's gotten. So the suburbs here are not a fan of Donald Trump. Now, it doesn't mean he cannot win the state. Every election is unique, but if Trump cannot stop the bleeding here a little bit, it's unlikely he's going to be able to win the state. Now, the last thing we could do is take a look and see how accurate the polling was back in 2020. So here, Biden gets the state by just over 0.2%. The aggregate polling showed anywhere from Biden up 1.2 to Trump up by 1. That overall evens out to about a 0.1% advantage for Biden. So overall, the polls not really off by that much here. Other states like in the Rust Belt, it did underestimate Trump. It doesn't really look like that's the case here in Georgia. Now, the individual polls are back and forth. Some of those do clearly overestimate Biden or Trump, but the other thing to remember here is this state in the midterms back in 2022 did re-elect incumbent Republican Brian Kemp, and he won that relatively comfortably by more than 5 points. But the other thing you might remember following the last presidential election, there was a U.S. Senate runoff. Democrats were able to flip those seats. Then in the same midterms where Brian Kemp won, there was another Senate election and Democrats were able to hold it. You could say it's all about candidate equality or abortion, but it's clear this state is still willing to support either party. So what does this all add up to? Well, right now the polling does look pretty good for Trump in this state, but looking at the trends over the last couple of elections are pretty scary if you're Trump. His brand does not resonate in those Atlanta suburbs. Now there are a few areas in Atlanta and some of those bluer rural counties where Trump could technically make a few more gains, but he has to do all that and also hold his margins in those extremely red counties. Now Trump is not in office, Biden is. Biden is unpopular, maybe that causes the suburbs to go a couple of points back toward the right, but Trump could just be so toxic for those voters that he continues to lose ground and he ends up losing the state. There's some different things to follow here. A lot of it is the Atlanta suburbs, but obviously that's not going to be everything. The state is going to be up for grabs. Even if it looks good now for Trump, who knows what's going to happen in another 6 or 7 months. So I'm going to leave it there for now. I'm not sure exactly if I'm going to keep this series going for other states, but let me know in the comments, what do you think about Georgia? Are the suburbs just too much of a problem for Trump, or is Biden's unpopularity going to be enough for the state to go red one more time? Let me know down below. On your way out, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Join if you'd like to support the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.